Hey, what's up, guys? We are at that Salty Fries house with Armad the Wheel, and he's been on the channel before with his Plunder Patrol decks and also his Edison deck profiles. So, what do you have for us today?
I have Runic Plunder Patrol today.
Yes, sir. He's been doing it well with this build, so I wanted to show it off because we have not showed off his Runic variant on this. And I know a lot of people have been liking the Runic cards lately with other variants like White Force going around. And of course, I haven't seen much about Plunder Patrol this format so far, so I wanted to ask you about your build and all that stuff. So, yeah, what do you got for us today? Or
Well,
40 card list?
It is a 40 card list. It's simple, or at least I think it is. I'm ready to get right into it. I don't think I got anything else to say.
Yeah, let's do it.
We have 3 copies of Whitebeard. It's just simply the best name. You want to see it. In this version, honestly, Golden Hair feels better sometimes, especially for the mainline combo with the Runic cards. So normally this is the better one, but in this build I usually feel Golden Hair is better. So my personal preference on that, but Whitebeard can summon a Plunder Patrol from the deck when it's sent from your hand or the main monster zone to the graveyard. It summons a Plunder Patrol from your deck.
Great.
Which, just good utility. Golden Hair can summon herself from your graveyard by discarding any card. She can also summon herself from the hand by pitching a Plunder Patrol card from your hand or a face-up monster card. Plunder Patrol monster card you control. Which is just nice utility. It's just free special summons. Black Eyes, the Plunder Patrol Sea Guide. It can add back a Plunder Patrol to summon itself from the hand. When it's sent from the hand or the field, it can target a Plunder Patrol in the background and special summon it in defense position. It cannot bring back the captain because it cannot be put in defense position. So do remember that.
Of course.
Bluebeard. 2 copies of Bluebeard. If you control a Plunder Patrol, you can spec it from your hand. If it's sent from your hand or the field to the grave, you can discard 1 card to draw 1 card. Only 1 copy of Redbeard in this build. Unfortunately, Redbeard doesn't really get you anywhere. Even with some of the Runic cards, you kind of need to draw into either extenders or other pieces to get anywhere. He just unfortunately doesn't do anything, so you don't really want to see him. But you do want to be able to summon him off of Whitebeard's effect on your opponent's turn to be able to tag out into another ship, which is his secondary effect, or his first effect. Secondary is when he's sent from the field or the hand to the graveyard, he can target a Plunder Patrol you control and equip itself to that monster. Only 1 copy of the Shipyard. Because you're also playing the Runic cards and the Fountain, you only need 1 copy of this, especially since it can reset itself from the graveyard. Since it can recur itself, you don't need more than 1 in this variation because you don't really want to overdraw it, especially when you're trying to draw into Runic cards and hand traps on top of Engine. So it's just, you don't want to see too many copies of it. 1 copy of Booty, because you're playing a low count of Plunder Patrol names, Booty's recycling effect to either put him back in the deck or spec him is just very, very nice. Because you don't have that many copies, and if you run out of names, then you don't go anywhere. You don't have anything left. So this being able to recycle them and recur them, but also change the attributes of your opponent's face-up monsters, is just very nice for being able to tag into extra ships on your opponent's turns when normally you might not be able to get those attributes. Like facing my friend Sam. He only summons water monsters. It's kind of hard to get anywhere when you're only facing water monsters, so being able to change the attribute of those monsters is just very handy for me, because then I can actually go into my ships. That is all for the Plunder Patrol part of the deck. Next is the Runic part. 2 Fountain, it's at 2, you play 2. 3 Tip, because it's not hit.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe one day. Most people know what these do. I don't.
Yeah, you could probably just bust through the Runic engine.
I don't feel the need to explain it. It's very basic.
3 destructions.
I couldn't find my 3rd one, so this face down one is just a 3rd destruction. I also played 1 Dispelling and 1 Slumber.
How did you like the Dispelling and Slumber?
I would play a second and even a third Slumber because of the protection effect. It is just very handy. I just only own one copy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so I would play more. I just don't own more. So Dispelling was just kind of that replacement the 40th card that was just kind of like, it's an extra Runic name, so it's an extra potential draw. So why not? I threw it in, and it's not a bad effect. If your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand when they're on low cards in your hand, and then this rips that card.
Oh, it's so good.
Then you've just got them. You have them in that position. So in some scenarios, this also can just be very good, so I don't mind playing it. It didn't really come up too much, but being the extra name was just handy. That's all for the Runic cards. The last part of the main deck is hand traps and generic cards. I played 2 Ash, 2 Nib, 2 Veiler, 2 Impermanence as the hand traps.
So how did you like the hand traps in this version?
So the hand traps...
Because traditionally some people are like, oh, with Runic you can't run hand traps, but do you think that the fact that you have Plunder names, or the Plunder cards, it kind of helps facilitate hand traps in this kind of build?
So you could play more or less engine or non-engine. Most variations of the Runics, of the Runic Plunder decks do play hand traps, just because you do have the room, since you can play a low count of Plunder Patrol names.
That's why it's so good, it seems like, in this kind of build, because you get to draw into your hand traps.
There are hands where you draw, I think I drew 6 cards, including 2 Plunder Patrol names, 2 hand traps, and I think Crossout Designator, which is the next card. And then the 40th card is Called by the Grave.
Yeah, so you have just a bunch of outs for those cards.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I chose these hand traps, because these were the most popular at the time of when I built the deck. And even now, I'd say that these are still the more popular hand traps. And Crossout Designator just being able to out these, and Called by the Grave also being able to out at least these ones.
Would you ever consider Mulcharmy?
I would consider it, but I also just don't like that card in general. It's just... They didn't need to print Max C again. Like, come on.
Well, they're about to print another one.
Like, what's going on here?
So would you ever consider the Fiendsmith package in the Runic build, or do you think the Runic build kind of doesn't belong with the Fiendsmith package?
You could play it just because you can just cut either hand traps or a few copies of names. So you can just have it be an all-gas version. The only problem would be...
It seems like you go to 40, and you can't fit any non-engine. So I guess it seems like the Runic build probably maybe stick to the pure. And then also the Dipsia Fiend. Would you run that in the Runic build, or do you have any opinions on the new Dipsia card that people have kind of suspected to be indirect plunder support?
I like it because it is kind of indirect plunder support. The only problem is I don't often use Golden Hair's in-hand effect, which is what it is, because when you're pitching a card from your hand, you want it to be Whitebeard. So unless it is Whitebeard, you're not getting any value, or you're not getting enough value, in my opinion, is how I feel about it. So it feels win more in most hands when you kind of need to draw more starters instead of win more cards. It just feels like it's too much for the deck. Or at least it just feels like there's not enough engine for Plunder Patrol decks at the moment. Or at least Plunder Patrol names, individual copies that do enough when they're sent to the graveyard.
We'll get the Link 1 ship that searches the field spell one day.
One of these days we'll get there.
All right, let's see this extra deck.
1 copy of SP Little Knight. I was very fortunate to pull this. So
I was going to say you pulled this, of course.
Yeah, so don't gotta explain that one. It's SP Little Knight.
With the SP Little Knight sleeves, by the way.
Yes, they are all sleeved in SP Little Knight sleeves, which is very ironic. I play 2 copies of the Captain. Because you need extra deck space for the Runic cards, the Plunder Patrol cards, and a few generic cards, I play a few more than just the SP. You kind of cut a few names, and you only really need 2 captains, since you can recycle the captains with the booty as well.
Yeah, I never see you go into 3.
Yeah, I don't often need the 3rd. The only time I've ever really summoned the 3rd is when I'm up against Sam, but that's because he only gives me waters, so...
It's a grind.
Yeah, those are the only moments when I ever need the 3rd captain, so the second one, you only need 2 for this one. I still play 2 Braum. I like the spell trap removal, plus having the 2nd fire name just because of the Snake Eye decks running around. and also Tenpai being able to hit their field spell when on activation, because this is a spell trap banished by pitching a Plunder Patrol card. I didn't even explain Blackbeard. I'm sorry. So Blackbeard is a link to, and it takes any 2 monsters, including a Plunder Patrol monster. So the second monster can be anything, even a token. So you can use the Plunder Patrol token as well. So you can target an effect monster on your board, equip the targeted monster to... you summon a ship from your extra deck that shares an attribute of a monster on your opponent's field or in their grave. Equip the targeted monster to that card, and then draw 1 card.
There we go.
Got there. Sorry. It is all 1 effect for that second. The target is the cost. It is an ashable effect. They all are, because they're fair. They're fair cards. And I like that about them. It just kind of sucks sometimes. Brawn is a spell trap banish. It's basically an in-house cosmic cyclone. The cost is discarding a Plunder Patrol card instead of paying 1,000 life points, though. If it successfully banishes the card, you get to add a Plunder Patrol monster from your deck to your hand. It is all 1 effect, so it is, again, ashable. 1 copy of Yord. In this variant, since you can summon Yord from your face-up extra deck, you only really need the 1 copy. I like 2 copies of it in some other variants, but you really only ever need 1 of it. I just like 2. But this one only needs 1, especially since you need the extra deck space. But while it is face-up on in the monster zone, you can target a Plunder Patrol monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, then place it in your pendulum scale you scale it in your pendulum scale, basically. While it is in the scale, you can declare its effect, declaring any attribute. You summon a 0/0 fiend of that attribute to your opponent's board, or to both players' boards, and then shuffle Yord back into the extra deck. Unfortunately, one of the ships is a light monster, so giving your opponent a light fiend is unfortunate for Fiendsmith reasons.
We try not to do that, but
I still do, just because I'm not gonna not play my deck unoptimally, but I messed up that word and I'm not gonna try it again.
Hey man.
Sorry, I can't do English. I'm sorry. 2 copies of Lease, which is the Light Fiend. Lease is a monster effect negate. Can negate any monster effect from field, grave, hand, anywhere. Anywhere that it would activate by discarding a Plunder Patrol card, it negates the activation and destroys it. If it successfully destroys the card, you get to add any Plunder Patrol card from your deck to your hand. Oh, also, I did forget 1 effect of Yord. It has a secondary effect while it is face up on your field. If your opponent special summons a monster to their field while you control Yord, you can add a Plunder Patrol card from your deck to your hand. And if it is equipped with a Plunder Patrol card, you also get to special summon 1 from your deck. And it does not need to be a different name.
Love to hear it.
Oh, you don't get to add a card from your deck to your hand if Lease is not equipped with a Plunder Patrol. So you do have to remember that. If it is not equipped, you do not get the search. But you still can ash it.
Good to remember.
Because it is all 1 effect. Brawn and Monarch, which is the next ship, are not quick effects unless they are equipped with a Plunder Patrol monster. So you do also have to remember that you cannot just activate these whenever. They do have to be equipped, which is part of the gimmick of the deck.
Yep.
I'm very bad at explaining things. I'm sorry.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Monarch has 2 effects while face up on the field. The first is you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, discard 1 Plunder Patrol card, and banish that monster. It does have to be an effect monster, so you will not be able to target Blue Eyes White Dragon. Unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
Just a funny joke because of the new Blue Eyes support.
Yep.
It also has a secondary effect that if your Plunder Patrol card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach 1 Xyz material from it instead. So if you do hard make this as an Xyz monster, you do have a protection effect. So that is helpful to know and remember. So
I've seen you hard make it.
I like making it. It's very fun to get the protection effect if I can. Plus, if I have the extra extenders in my hand, why not make it? Especially since it's completely generic. So you can use what is it? Jerry is a level 4, so you can use Jerry to make it if you summon Jerry off of a Runic card.
All right.
So you can use Jerry and a Plunder Patrol to make it. And that's funny. So also remember, it is not a quick effect if it is not equipped. So that's it for the Plunder Patrol cards in the extra deck. The rest is generics and the Runic cards. One Coral Dragon. Coral Dragon is part of... it's like a technical 3-card combo. You need to draw 2 different Runic names and a Plunder Patrol tuner for this combo to work, but I'll show it in a second.
Sure.
The other last generic one is Dragite.
Sure.
For a generic level 8, since we do play level 4 tuners and level 4 non-tuners. It's just nice to have the level 8. Not everybody plays the Dragite, but I love it. And then we play 3 Runics to round out the extra deck. We play 2 Hugin and 1 Jerry.
Of course.
2 to search the 2 Fountain and 1 to add back a Fountain, because you will eventually pitch a Fountain to get the field spell back from the grave.
No need for Moonin or the horse.
So I play Munin in the side deck as a time card, basically. It's an in-house time card.
Would you ever run the horse?
You don't really need the horse for this version of the deck. Plus, you could play it. Personal preference, I don't think you need it. Plus, there are going to be some times where you're going to fill up your board a bit.
Yeah. So
you might not always have the room for it. But you can if you want to. I'm not against it.
Sure.
I just also don't own it. So there is also that. I don't own it.
Do you want to show us the side deck super quick?
Yes, I do have a quick side deck. I like playing Ghost Spell for Flameburge and Labyrinth. I hate Lab, and this is just good against Big Welcome, so that's just really good for that. Raiden is good for decks like Raid Raptor, so I like being able to get around unaffected monsters. And
Purrely.
Plus, giving your opponent the Dark Attribute means you have access to Monarch, which gives you access to the Plunder Patrol field spell, which means if you have access to this and the Captain, you get access to your field spell, which means you can probably do your full combo, or at least get to a pretty good end board. So I really like Raiden. I really like it. 2 Cosmic Cyclone. Not only is this a good cross-out target, but it's also just good against other Runic decks, and it also just other back row heavy strategies. So I really just like Cosmic Cyclone and back row removal. Harpy's Feather Duster.
Doesn't get better than that.
Forbidden Droplet is a card you can play. I go on and off about it, but I really like it against Branded for the Sanctifier because it's untargetable. This is just a better way to have an out to the gimmick lock, especially since there's not many ways to do that.
It's not bad against some of the boards that have negates right now, too.
Yeah, exactly. Plus,
it's kind of free with your deck, too, because you could just you can activate and then send. Like, that card's crazy with quick plays.
Yeah, activating a few of the Runic cards, then just chaining the droplet, sending them all, then drawing cards off of the fountain. It broken. Once again, this is just good into some boards, plus extra back row removal. It's just nice to have. You don't need to play as much as I do. I just like it. I find that some decks I need it against it. I like talents in the sideboard for when I know decks are going to be playing a lot of hand traps instead of where there are some that don't really at my locals. So there are some decks where I like this better and some decks where I like it less against. So I like it in the sideboard for that option, at least for my locals. You can play it wherever you like it. Like I said, I play 1 Munin, and I do have a Typhon in the sideboard as well.
Awesome.
Just because there are some decks that summon monsters that are really huge, and having Typhon is just nice for those decks, because if you get interrupted enough, you can just throw it on an end board and say that's enough. So I like it for that reason.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the channel and giving us a deck profile. Didn't you...
Oh, yes. So...
Is there...
There's a... It's essentially a combo where you only need a tuner and 2 Runic spells. So in-draw, and then any card to be a discard. It doesn't matter what that card is, but you will have 5 cards in your starting hand, so this is something you will draw. You might not draw it every time, but this is just how you can get a lot of really nice card advantage. So you activate the first Runic spell to summon Hugin from the... Excuse me, sorry. Summon Hugin from the extra deck. Pitching the spare card to search the fountain. You activate the fountain. You normal summon... that's here. You normal summon the golden hair. Sink these two into the coral dragon. Activate the second one to summon the second Hugin. On resolution, target these two, put them back, draw 2. I didn't shuffle this, so it's just 2 random ones. These go on the bottom. Then you can sink these 2 into either, or into any of your 8s.
Oh, into either Dragite or any of your 8s. Very nice.
So it's just a very nice combo. Plus, when Coral Dragon is sent from the field to the graveyard, you also draw another card.
That's awesome.
So you've drawn 3 cards off of essentially what those 4 cards were, plus you have now a level 8 and the fountain on your board. And the level 8 you go into is dependent on what you draw off of the fountain before you send the Coral Dragon to the graveyard. If you have Plunder Patrol names in your hand, then you can make the Dragite. If you don't have enough names to go past that point, you make the Yord, so you guarantee the names.
Awesome. Crazy combo.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
As always, we'll be seeing you guys later. I'll link also Wheels' channel down below also, so you guys can subscribe to it for hopefully eventually content on the line. So
when I get the equipment, we'll get there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're getting everybody. We're getting Spams, Kyle, and you. So
yes, just got to get there first.
Yes, sir. So good things take time. So
yes, they do.
All right, we'll be seeing you guys later. Leave a like down below. Also, if this video gets 100, or if this video gets 200 likes, we'll do a combo guide. How does that sound, Tyler?
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's do it. All right, peace out, guys.